Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the Karnataka Bank Limited Q2 FY22 earnings conference call hosted by Monarch Networth Capital Limited. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference, please signal an operator by pressing star, then 0 on your touchtone telephone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Alok Shah from Monarch Networth Capital Limited. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Yeah, thanks, Melissa. Good afternoon to all. On behalf of Monarch Networth Capital Limited, we welcome you for Karnataka Bank Q2 FY22 earnings call. From the bank side, we have with us the entire senior management team represented by the MD and CEO, Mr. Mahabaleshwara MS, CEO, Mr. Balchandra Vaidi, CFO Sir, Mr. Muralidhar Krishna Rao, CBO, Mr. Gokuldas Pai. Without taking much of your time, I would request Mahabaleshwara Sir for his initial comments, post which we can take up the Q&A session. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, Alok. Good morning and good afternoon to all of you. Thanks for evincing keen interest in the con call of Karnataka Bank, wherein we will be highlighting the Q2, that is Q2 FY22 performance. Friends, in spite of COVID-19 pandemic adverse effect on the economy, of course, which continued during this second quarter also, your bank has been able to post strong numbers. That is the one important thing. And to begin with, let me highlight the two important areas wherein in the past also, especially the investors and analysts like you, had expressed concern. And let me address those 2 points. That is mainly in the credit area, the credit growth, and the second one is the asset quality, including the stress and the restructured advances portfolio. So let me take up these two issues first, and then I will highlight the result-related numbers. As far as the credit growth number is concerned, I'm happy that we are back on the track, as there is 5.17% growth over the previous quarter. That is, as of June 21, we had 51,791.21 crores advances. Now it is 54,467.94 crore. Thus, we are now back on growth track. On year-on-year basis, the important sectors which had provided the growth are the gold loans. We grew by 27.69%. This is YOY. And high-rated NBFCs, we grew by 15.67%. MSMEs, 14.82% YOY growth rate. Loans to contractors, 8.76%. And of course, pharma sector grew by 36.77%. Going forward, I'm very confident about the growth momentum. So the growth number may touch double digit by third quarter, and we should be able to reach our projected growth rate of around 15% plus by March 22. So this is mainly on account of the factor that the business leads and its conversion is going strong and gaining momentum also. As far as the asset quality is concerned, let me touch upon this issue by highlighting the NPA numbers, stress numbers, and the restructured advances portfolio. As far as the NPA numbers, that is the gross NPA is concerned, so as of March 21, our gross NPA was 4.91%. As of June 21, it moderated to 4.82%, and as of September 21, it further moderated to 4.50%. Not only the percent, but even in terms of absolute number also, it was at 2,588.41 crores as of March 21. As of June, it came down to 2,549.06. Now further moderated to 2,501.12 crore. And a similar trend is also observed in net NPA. it was at 3.18% as of March 21, then came to 3% as of June 21. Now it is below 3%, that is at 2.84%. And in absolute numbers also, it was at 1,642.10 crores as of March 21, 1,552.95 crores as of June 21, and 1,546.11 crore as of September 21. And the NPA addition during this quarter, it is 445.36 crore. This is the gross addition, whereas the reduction is 493.29 crores. So the reduction is more than the addition. Of this reduction of 493.29 crores, 309.04 crores came in the form of actual recovery, whereas the other write-offs, technical write-off and other things, was 184.25 crores. So thus our slippage ratio stood at 0.88% for this quarter. For the June quarter, it was 0.83%. For the last year, entire year, it was 2.44%. So going by this trend, I am confident that our yearly slippage ratio would be less than the last year's slippage ratio of 2.44%. Now, as far as the stress advances is concerned, let me touch upon mainly the SMA-2 and SMA-1. SMA-2 portfolio consisted of 2,245.75 crores as of June 21, and it constituted 4.24% of the GBC. And now it has further come down to 1,599.73%, that is as of September 21, and now it constitutes 2.87% of the GBC. So that means from June 21 quarter to September 21 quarter, that is the sequential quarter, there is a reduction of 28.77% in the SMA-2 portfolio. The similar trend is also observed in SMA-1. I had 2,608.13 crores in the SMA-1 portfolio as of June 21st, and that constituted around 4.92% of our GBC. So the SMA-1, it has further decreased to 1,921 crores as of September 21, and it constituted 3.45%. So thus 2,608.13 crore reduced to 1,921 crores. There is a reduction by 26.35%. And if you add both SMA-2 and SMA-1, our June portfolio size was 4,853.88. Now it is at 3,520.73 crores. Thus, there is a gross reduction of 27.47%. And in the SMA-2 portfolio, I said it is 1,599.73 crores. Here, above 5 crores constitutes 606.11 crore. Last time I had shared with you that we are closely monitoring this portfolio with a digital dashboard on a day-to-day basis. So here, out of this 1,599.73 crores SMA-2 portfolio as of September 21, the latest position is, it is further reduced to 188.38 crores. Even though above 5 crores, it constituted 606.11 crores. That is both the main accounts and the related accounts. The same now stands at 188.38 crores. Another area in the asset quality is mainly pertaining to the restructured advances. I am sure that all of you would be interested to know more granular details about this particular portfolio. As of March 21, our restructured advances stood at 1,738.41 crores. And as of June, we added 946.64 crores to this portfolio, and it stood at 2,685.05 crores. And June and September quarters are the quarter where we have implemented restructuring 1.0 and 2.0 of the RBI guideline. So that means in the September quarter, we have restructured 1,668.44 crores of advances. So as a result, at present, the cumulative number of restructured advances, it stands at 4,353.49 crores. This constitutes 7.82% of the GBC. And out of this 4,353.49 crores, the NPA is 360.49 crores. And this, of course, again, this 360.49 crores is further reduced to 295 crores. This is the latest number. Of course, SMA2 of this 4,353.49 crores is at 401.43 crores and SMA1 167.79 crores. The most important initiative what the management have recently is I have created a separate special monitoring cell for this restructured advances. It is named as Restructured Advances Management Cell, RAM cell. And this particular cell is headed by an executive, and on day-to-day basis, they will be closely monitoring this restructured advances portfolio. Because during this third quarter, because this restructuring has to be given effect latest by 31st December 21. So we may have another 500 to 600 crores to be restructured during this quarter. So all it could be somewhere between 4,800 crores of the restructured portfolio. So that means around 8 to 9% of our GBC. So keeping that in mind, we thought it fit to have a focused attention for this restructured advances portfolio. So a separate cell to monitor the restructured advances is already put in place. And that is why I am seeing some favorable numbers moving in a comfortable zone as far as the restructured advances are concerned. And of course, all other quarterly numbers are already shared. We have already uploaded our detailed analysis in our website. Data is also shared with the stock exchange. And I have already sent a detailed email to all the shareholders also. That communication is also sent. But nevertheless, let me briefly touch upon the important numbers. As you all know, net profit has gone up by 5.17% during this quarter from 119.44 crores to 125.61. And operating profit, if you compare the previous sequential quarter, it was 384.83 crores, now at 389.59 crores. Interest income also, marginal improvement compared to the sequential quarter, 1,523.50 crores, June 21. This quarter, 1,554.28 crores. Interest expenses, we have been able to reduce it, 948.71 crores as of June 21. Now it is 917.18 crores. This is mainly because of a reduction in the cost of deposit. NII, which was at 574.79 crores as of June 21, now it is at 637.10 crore. And other income also, of course, trading profit, we have not been able to gain much in the trading portfolio. However, in the miscellaneous other income, there is a jump of around 35.33% YOY. But compared to June quarter, there is a reduction. June quarter, we had 181.18 crores miscellaneous income, whereas this quarter, it is 164.37 crores. Of course, total income remained almost at the same level compared to the previous quarter. It was 1,730.02 crores, now 1,725.15 crores. Expenditure also almost on the same line. Previous quarter it was 1,345.19 crores, now 1,335.56 crores. However, as far as the NIM is concerned, this is what all of you were asking many questions in the past con call also. So as of June 21, it was at 2.98%, and March 21, it was at 2.91%, and now it is at 3.31%. So I had been telling you that we are focusing more on improving the NIM to above 3%. So hereafter, I am confident we will be able to maintain the NIM at a comfortable level of above 3% because it is already at 3.31%. ROA has also improved from 0.49% as of June 21 to 0.57%. ROE from 6.34 to 7.41% sequentially. Gross NPA, net NPA, all those things, the details I have already explained. Credit cost is at 0.24% for this particular quarter. For June quarter, we had 0.45%. For the entire year, it was at 2.37%. So going forward also, it will not breach the March 21 number. It will be below that. Provision coverage ratio, it is our endeavor to maintain the PCR at above 70%. So now it is at 71.75%. Cost to income ratio is at 51.79%. It may hover at around the same level, maybe at around 50%. And CRAR, now tier 1 is 11.98 and tier 2 is 2.50%. That is 14.48% is our capital to risk-weighted assets ratio. And this is excluding the current year's profit. If you include the current year's profit, it will be 14.94%. And if you include the full standard advances provision, then the CRAR will be 15.47%. Then as far as CASA is concerned, this is now at 30.88%. June 21, it was at 30.82%. And March end, it was at 31.49%. Of course, on year-on-year basis, our CASA grew by 11.65%. And as far as yield on advances is concerned, so it was at 9.05% as of March 21, came down to 8.93 as of June 21, and now it is at 8.91%, mainly because of the stiff market competition for the quality assets. And the cost of deposit also has shown very good improvement from 5.29% as of March 21 to 4.82% as of June, and now at 4.64%. So as a result, our spread has improved to 4.27% from 3.76% as of March 21 and 4.11% as of June 11. So going forward, we will continue to focus on the growth management, especially credit and CASA. I have already given you the expectations of the management in that area. Stress management will continue to engage our attention, especially in three fields, that is the NPA management, SMA management, and the restructured advances management. Capital augmentation is also engaging our attention. So the committee of directors of the board, it is entrusted with that responsibility. They have already met, taken stock of the present situation, and the future strategies, all those things are discussed, and we will be taking it further depending on the market and other conditions. And the digital initiatives under KBL Vikas 2.0, basically under the concept of KBL Next, it is progressing as per our expectation. Lot of digital onboarding of customers, both for the liability as well as the asset portfolio, that is being given that option is already provided, and as a result, efficiency enhancement in all the areas is being observed. I have an important announcement, important development in the bank to be shared with you all, which of course we have already shared with the stock exchange. With the approval of the Reserve Bank of India, the term of the present chairman, that is the part-time chairman of our bank, Mr. P. Jairam Bhatt, he will be completing his present term by 13th of November 2021. And the board has recommended new PTC and also sent its recommendation to the RBI. We have received the RBI approval for appointment of new PTC, that is Mr. Pradeep Kumar Panja. He has been an independent director and with our board for the last more than a year. You all know that he worked as MD and CEO of the State Bank of Travancore, initially for about an year period. Thereafter, with the State Bank of India as Managing Director, Corporate Finance Section at the board level for about 3 years. So this is one of the best value addition at the top level, and he will be assuming a charge effective from 14th of November 2021. So with this preliminary few remarks, now the forum is open for any further clarification. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin with the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may enter star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If your questions have been answered and you wish to withdraw yourself from the queue, you may enter star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. To ask a question, you may enter star and 1. We have the first question from the line of Sarvesh Gupta from Maximal Capital. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. So one particular point which I wanted to investigate further was on your restructured book. So while we have sort of been at the same level of NPA, but restructured advances are going up a lot. So first of all, wanted to understand, in case you wouldn't have gone for restructuring of these accounts, how much of that would have flown into your NPAs? And secondly, how do you look this? I mean, you have guided for 500 crore increase, but what's the trend going to be March 22 and beyond? Like, do you think that resolutions are going to happen here, or how do you think this shaping up in the future?
Sarvesh, no? Your good name?
Yes, Sarvesh Gupta.
What is your second question? I didn't get it.
I wanted to understand that how this restructured book is going to shape up as per you beyond December.
Yeah. That is first question. Second question?
So that's the first question only. I'll ask my second question after this.
Okay. So your first question is, had there not been restructured, what would have been the NPA? Sarvesh, we need to understand that this restructuring is in Reserve Bank of India guidelines implementation under the restructuring 1.0 and 2.0, mainly to keep the economy going forward. And this is also a helping hand extended to the needy customers. So that hypothetical question, I may not be able to give you the numbers right now. But what I am able to say is that need-based restructuring is done. And all these accounts, I am very confident that going forward also they will continue to be a performing asset. At the time of restructuring also, almost all these accounts were performing. It was mainly on account of the external factor. But as a banker, we need to be very, very conservative. And even if the restructure, let us say, it fails up to say 10%, then we already have a provision of more than 690 crores for the restructured portfolio of 4,353 crores. No, restructured standard advance, entire for the entire standard advances portfolio, we have 690 crores. So even if there is, let us say, 10% slippage, so 435 crores, I already have a standard advances provision of 690 crores. So the future shock, we will not allow it to happen like that. That is why I said all the preliminary steps or the required steps we have already initiated. Even if there is aberration in future, this is already insulated in terms of making upfront provision. So we will be able to take care of the needs of the customer going forward also by fully protecting the health of this particular portfolio.
Understood, sir. And wanted to understand the trend beyond December. How do you look at this book? Like you said, 500 crores can be added in this quarter. And beyond December, how is it going to work out is what I want.
Where 500 crores is added to which portfolio?
To restructured in this quarter is what your guidance was.
Beyond December, there is no restructure program at all. Restructure program last day is 31st December 21 as per the present regulator guidelines.
Understood. So, do you envisage significant reductions coming in this they remaining in the standard book, or how do you feel that NPA levels would be high from this book?
NPA is moderating. Not only moderating, this number is also coming down both in terms of percentage as well as in terms of absolute number. This trend is going to continue. I am optimistic that by March 22, our GNPA could be around 4%, and this NNPA could be around 2.5%. It is going to be further reduced because we don't have any big ticket advances causing concern. So even during the current quarter also, even in the fresh addition to NPA, the large advances that has added, the ticket size was 31 crores. And that also got regularized subsequently. In fact, very next day it got regularized because there was an element of out of order. So we treated it as NPA and that got regularized on the very next day. So that means the larger ticket advances becoming NPA is almost, we have addressed that issue. And even the SMA2 also, I had one account of above 35 crores, which was at SMA2, and now also that particular account got upgraded to SMA1. So things are moving in right direction.
Understood, sir. So on your CASA side, we have seen a lot of banks gaining CASA percentage, but in your case it has been sort of stable. So any thoughts around that?
CASA, as I said, of course, it is at 30.88%, and we are aiming for around 33% by March 22. So here, the most important thing is SB growth is there, but current account growth is not as per the expectation. This is mainly on account of closure of the multiple current accounts held by the borrowers with different banks. As per the recent RBI guidelines, the working capital limits, if they had in one bank, they cannot have the current account in another bank. So as a result, in our bank, around 17,000 current accounts we had to close. And on account of there is a negative growth in the current in the earlier months. And once this is stabilized, I think going forward there will be a robust growth in the CA also, and that would help in improving our CASA portfolio.
Understood, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. We have the next question from the line of Chinmay Bhavna from Anson Insurance. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir. Firstly, congratulations on this quarter. People thought that with COVID and everything, things would be worse, but I think you've come out much, much better, and congratulations on that, firstly. Sir, I have 5 to 6 questions, if you don't mind. I'll take some time of yours.
Then I should have a con call with you separately, Chinmay. Okay. But please keep in mind the time constraint, and please be brief.
Yes, sir. I'll be very brief. Sir, many banks have shown interest to divest stake in subsidiaries, associate companies. Looking at the current market scenario, where insurance companies are witnessing attractive valuations, what is Karnataka Bank's strategy around its exposure to Universal Sompo?
Okay. Then.
So, the second question.
As far as Universal Sompo exposure is concerned, I have about 6% stake in that company. And for the time being, we will continue to hold that. And if at all any revision is required, I will take it up with my board, and we will take an appropriate decision which is most favorable to the bank as well as its shareholders.
Okay. And sir, income from treasury operations has slightly fallen this quarter, and interest rates are expected to increase, sir, in the coming future. And treasury investment income is going to stay under stress. Your mark-to-market portfolio of the bank is almost 24% of total investment with duration over 3 years. So, the compounding effect will happen due to that. How do you intend to manage the risk of MTM loss on this?
No, my CFO will take that question. Yeah, majority of our holdings are in HTM category. So the depreciation market value impact, as far as the accounting is concerned, it may not be there. Our AFS portfolio depreciation is not very material. So balance sheet impact may not be there. Yeah, portfolio impact will be there. But definitely this portfolio we are building up as the interest rate is increasing, we are building up. And definitely we foresee that if not this year, next year, this correction of the interest rate will happen and there will be opportunity.
Okay, sir. And also, sir, with this growth of 15% and going forward, there was 2-3 plans of right issues over the last year. I saw one in 2020 and then again in 2021 of a QIP. And, South Indian Bank has been able to raise a smaller amount, around 250 crores. So are we likely to see the QIP coming soon?
QIP, our shareholders have already permitted.
Right, sir.
Evaluating the situation, lot many things have already lined up. As I said, in a most advantageous position, at the right time and the right price, we will be in a position to take it forward. That is number one. Number two, I have already highlighted the capital adequacy ratio. So as far as the CAR is concerned, it is at a comfortable level. Also one of the factors which we have to factor in.
Okay. All right, sir. So, and sir, on the fintech companies are causing a huge disruption right now in the finance industry. This could result in the consolidation of the banking sector as well. And how does KBL management see this space in the future, sir? And also, do we have any exposure to cryptocurrency accounts like CoinDCX or any of these players holding money with our bank?
Chinmay, I really appreciate this question because this is the future. So, lot of collaborations we have already started during our KBL because to transformation journey under the concept of what I said, KBL Next. So, each and everything about the fintech, about the startups, how they are going to propel our growth dreams, how we are going to collaborate with them because no bank can afford to treat them as a competitors. This is a new disruption that is happening and your bank has taken note of it and we have made many initiatives in those areas. As I said, our initially we have started with the underwriting of the loans in a digital platform and we are also looking into the CASA related things. Neo bank concept is also being thoroughly examined. All those things are being taken care of. That is why I have kept our transformation cell headed by a GM totally focused on this particular aspect.
Okay. And
the baseline now, the bank wants to emerge as the digital bank of future. I think that will sum up our overall focus on this particular digital area.
Right, sir. And sir, one more question, sir. Do we have any exposure?
The exposure you said we don't have.
Okay, we are not opening accounts for any one of these wallet companies.
No.
Okay, all right, sir. And sir, one more thing. Most of the mid-sized and large private sector banks are increasing their focus on treasury and trading currencies, rate products, and so on and so forth, to manage the impact of reducing net interest margins. How does KBL look at this? And do we have any plans to increase our treasury operations and trading in currency and FX derivatives and so on and so forth?
Yeah, both it is engaging our attention. In fact, my board has already permitted me to shift my treasury, integrated treasury, to Mumbai. That we will be doing very shortly.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, we will be shifting. As of now, integrated treasury is at Mangaluru only. So we have already taken an in-principle consent from the board, and this has to be now effected. That will be done very shortly. And other areas where there is good scope for earning money on day-to-day basis. So we will also be focusing on that.
Okay, sir. And sir, last question. Universal Sompo, your subsidiary, is in the process of launching a product for enhanced deposit insurance. So right now, DICGC covers 5 lakh rupees of regular deposit insurance. This is being planned to increase as an insurance product to 30 or 35 lakh rupees. And the cost for this would be quite nominal, only 5 bips to 7.5 bips. So do we see any sort of interest from the bank side on this? Do you think it would help, especially when you're looking to increase your CASA on the retail front?
Let me correct your question. Universal Sompo General Insurance Company Limited is not a subsidiary of Karnataka Bank. We are the promoter shareholders of Universal Sompo General Insurance Company, and my shareholding as of now stands at 6% only. That is the first question, first answer, clarification. The second one is, whatever the product that they launch, since we are the channel partners, we also evaluate it internally, and then we give our consent for the sale of that product in our bank. So our department is evaluating this new product. Once they share that particular product with us, we will evaluate, and then we will take an appropriate administrative decision.
Okay, sir. And but do you see a large potential in this in general for the banking sector and for Karnataka Bank also?
Only after evaluation I can answer this question.
Okay. All right.
I may not be able to.
Right. And sir, sorry, pausing you again. If we want to set up a larger call or a one-to-one meeting, do we request Monarch or we reach out to your investor?
Absolutely no problem, because whenever we are interacting with any investor or analyst, we share all the details, whatever is already available in the public domain.
All right, sir.
So have interaction directly with me or with the COO or with the CFO, whoever it may be. You can send an email and we will respond for that.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Best of luck.
Thank you, Chinmay.
Thank you. We have the next question from the line of Sher Surya from PMS Vantage Holdings. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I didn't get your name.
Sher Surya.
Okay. Please.
Congratulations for the good performance.
Thank you, Surya.
Going forward, what stance the bank is contemplating to diversify into the insurance sector? Any diversification move into the insurance sector?
Yeah, no, I didn't get your questions properly, Mr. Surya. Will you please repeat that?
You are telling that you have some 6% holding in insurance venture.
Correct. General insurance company. Correct.
What is the future plan for a clear cut? Increasing in the bank exposure to that sector.
That has to be evaluated. If there are any plans of further capital augmentation, and there are only limited shareholders in that company, so if they offer it to us, we will evaluate at that time. See, that is why I said in the beginning itself, all those decisions we have to take finally keeping in mind the bank's interest and the shareholders' interest. So whenever such option comes, we will evaluate and respond at that time.
Who is the major shareholder in the insurance sector, sir?
Mr. Surya, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you'll have to come back with your question, so we have participants in queue.
Okay.
Thank you. We have the next question from the line of Jay Mundra from B&K Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir. Thanks for the opportunity. Two questions, sir. One is on the restructuring number. So it looks like in the last call you had mentioned that restructuring is going to be unchanged. I mean, the guidance is going to be unchanged at around 5 to 6% of loans. That was at the time of the 1Q call. And now that number has gone up to 8%, and there is some more pipeline also. And then, so is the number has surprised you, or how should one make out of this number, because that number has clearly gone up too much in a very short period of time.
See, restructuring under the restructuring this resolution framework 1 and resolution framework 2. So we had estimated around 2,500 crores addition under this particular sector. So since we already had about 1,738 crores as of March 21, and now which is at 4,353. So addition is still within that range only, 2,615. So it may go up by another 400 to 500 crores. That is the thing. So in totality, around 9% of our loan book could be the restructured one. That is number one. Number two, many of the customers with whom we have interacted and who have opted for restructuring, they had opted it as a precautionary step. So, and they have also availed the GCL and all facilities. And if you remember in the past, when the moratorium was extended, about 51% of our customers by value had opted for moratorium, and at the end of the day, only about 1 to 1.5% slipped to this. There was a delinquency up to and around 1 to 1.5%. So here also I foresee as a very precautionary sort of step opted by our customers. So that is why, even though it is at around 9%, I'm not much worried about this particular portfolio. Nevertheless, as I said, it definitely deserves our topmost attention. That is why we have put in place those steps of effective monitoring of that particular portfolio. And added to that, this particular restructured advances portfolio, we have already provided at around 13% of that portfolio as a provision. So even if the worst case scenario, the 10% slippage, even if it is there, I think it will not affect our future profitability and other things.
No, the question, I understood the math, sir. What I'm saying is has this number surprised you negatively?
No, not at all.
Okay, so you are not negatively surprised by restructuring going from 5% to 9%?
See, it is again, Mr. Jai, dependent on the external factor. So customers' call is the final. If they are eligible for restructuring facility as per the Reserve Bank of India guidelines, then in such cases we have to oblige. So there is no question of denial. But we, in all these cases, what we did is, before taking up that particular proposal for the restructuring, its suitability as per the Reserve Bank of India guidelines, and also the viability of the restructure. And all such things have been duly taken care of.
Even for availing GECL 4, restructure was
one of the prerequisites there for availing the GECL 4. One of the prerequisites was the restructuring. So some of the customers opted under that particular category as well.
Now that requirement.
Yeah.
Okay. So for GECL 4, there was some precondition for restructuring, so they got themselves restructured and got the GECL.
Yeah, for certain period.
Understood. And last question, sir, is appointment of Mr. P. Pradeep Kumar. So I think this is a significant move. But if you can, correct the understanding. So Karnataka Bank for a very long time had been only, internal people who have, joined Karnataka Bank like you and the previous chairman, who were all time, let us say Karnataka Bank employee. They were MD and chairman, and this is sort of a new change that an external person is coming in as a chairman of the bank. What does this suggest? If you can throw some light there.
No, in the past also, we had 3 chairmen from other banks. If I remember correctly, we had one chairman by name Mr. Raghuram. He served the bank for about 5 years period. He was serving in one of the banks in the overseas. And we had another chairman who was external person, Mr. U.V. Bhatt. He served as the chairman for about 2 years period. Then we had another chairman called Mr. Sundar Rao. He was our chairman. At that time, chairman was the CEO also for about 5 years. He was from Syndicate Bank. So that tradition is there. So it is basically the suitability. So we don't think that yes, person should only from inside or from outside. We don't have any such watertight method or the requirement. So depending on the requirement and the changes, we have our people as the PTCs.
Understood, sir. And just one data keeping question, sir. If you can, GECL outstanding, that will be of very help, sir. Thank you.
GECL outstanding, 1 second. We will give. We will let you know later, Mr. Jain. I will give you the exact number. I think maybe around 2,000 crores plus.
2,200 crores plus.
Yeah, 2,200. We will let you know later.
Sure, sir. And this includes GECL 4, right? Which is the disbursement to the GECL 1.0.
GECL 1, 2, 3, 4. Everything is included.
Right. No. So I'm asking, definition-wise, the 4 is the one additional disbursement to the GECL 1 guys.
Correct. Correct.
Okay. Great, sir. So it would be great if you can give that 1, 2, 3, 4 breakup. Thank you, sir.
Sure. I'll do email it. Yes, share that. Not on that. Yes, next.
Thank you, sir. We have the next question from the line of Yashwant Kumar, an investor. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity.
Mr. Kumar, I'm sorry to interrupt, but the audio is not clear from your line, sir. Could you adjust the mic?
Hello, can you hear me?
Sir, please switch to your handset.
Yes, you can make an attempt. Let me try to understand your question. Even though audio quality is not that great. Please continue, Mr. Yash.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, Mahabaleshwar. And I have 2 questions. So one, why is that we are not taking aggressive provisioning to make our PCR more than 80%? So that is one thing. And then I'm just reading out that the business strategy that we have mentioned in the investor presentation. So it says minimum space, maximum business. And we are planning to build a 2.4 lakh square feet office. So how should somebody read this? Having said we are looking for a funding. to raise our,
Yeah. So you have two questions. The first question is PCR. Mr. Yashwant Kumar, you may be aware of the fact that this PCR is basically dependent on the provision requirement as per the IRAC norms. Earlier, all along we have been making provision as per the IRAC norms, and no additional provision was being made. So now what is happening is, since last about 3 years, we have started making provision over and above the IRAC norms. That is why our PCR is at above 70%. So your suggestion is good. As and when our profitability improves, definitely we will aim for 80% PCR as suggested by you. Second one question is regarding the minimum space and the maximum utility that we have projected, maximum business. And at the branch level and the regional office level and all, these are wherever we have the least premises. So there we have cut short this office requirement. This is mainly from the point of view of the fact that now the digital transactions are happening through the digital platform, and it has reached a level of around 91% plus. So that being the case, customer traffic to the branches has considerably reduced. So we thought that this is the right time to rationalize the space at the branches. So that is the reason why we adopted this principle of minimum space and maximum business. Your question is why you are proposing a building, a centenary building at Mangalore. See, now almost all the activities are being run through the back offices. So we are strengthening the back offices, strengthening our risk management team, strengthening our compliance team, and many sanctions. Almost all the sanctions are happening at a centralized location now. So that has helped us in improving the efficiency and also in improving the quality on a sustainable basis. So even though customer interaction business premises requirement is less, the back office requirement is very much there. So keeping in mind, we have planned for this, and that is also to commemorate our centenary year, that is by 23-24. Yes, cost aspect, as you have said, we will be very, very considerate, but wherever we will be in a position to have this type of back office, having a back office at places like, very costly places like Mumbai, and a place like Mangalore where the land value is very cheap, it makes a huge difference. We will be very much considerate. Only the need-based requirement will be taken care of. This is also thoroughly discussed by my board, and they have given a lot of suggestions. We will be taking a decision in due course in this regard as well.
Okay. And one last question with respect to operating profits per employee and the branch. So there is a downtrend towards, if you refer to the operating profits. So, can you show some, basically have an explanation on that, please?
I think you will be in a better position to understand that, Yashwant, because operating profit from core business we have been able to do well. Operating profit also includes the trading profit. See, trading profit for the first half of the last year, we had about 510.55 crores. This half year, it is only 31.84 crores. I think that explains the entire difference. And you know that trading profit, again, it depends on the market conditions, external factors. Last year, we had a very good opportunity. This time, that opportunity is not there. But we will be focusing more on the core business. I will be able to make good of that going forward.
Okay. And looking at the e-commerce transactions, again, from past 2 years, there's been a rise in e-commerce transactions across the banks. But in Karnataka Bank, I see that the e-commerce transactions have gone down. So any particular reason for it?
E-commerce. Yeah, my CBO will take that question. Mr. Gokul, that's right.
Yeah. In fact, our digital transactions have gone up,
no doubt.
More than 91.6%. Whereas as far as the e-commerce, as rightly told, yes, it has gone down both by volume and amount, and it's mainly because of our UPI transactions have seen a marked improvement.
So that may be the reason. Yeah. There may be a slight migration from the e-commerce to the UPI-based transaction. But anyhow, we will again get it thoroughly examined. Thanks for that.
So, yeah, I mean, pretty much we are talking about the digitalized bank. So when we talk about digitalizing, then definitely e-commerce is one such a parameter to consider. So, yeah, I mean, that's a futuristic way of thinking, though.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for
Welcome.
Thank you. We have the next question from the line of Siji Philip from Axis Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, sir. Just one question from my side. Within the restructured book, could you give a sectoral color, as in what segments, what business segments are constituting the restructured book?
Yeah, agriculture around 4.77% of the portfolio is restructured. Commercial real estate 0.02% of the commercial real estate book is restructured. Housing around 11.42%. So that means the individuals have opted for the restructuring to the maximum extent. Infrastructure 3.22% of the loan book of that infrastructure is restructured. And in the MSME, around 11.2% of that portfolio is they have opted for the restructure. And other personal loans, including education loans and vehicle loans, all put together, around 14.71% of that portfolio they have restructured. Whereas the large industries and services, it is around 10.26% of that portfolio.
Thank you, sir.
So overall, it is 7.83% of the GBC.
Thank you.
Welcome.
We have the next question from the line of Pooja Ahuja from Monarch Networth Capital Limited. Please go ahead.
So most of my questions have been answered. Thanks for the opportunity. Just wanted to understand about, while you did mention that the impact was due to the RBI guideline on the CASA book. So how has the growth been in your savings account book?
Madam, I'm not able to get your question. Will you please repeat?
So the CASA has remained stable sort of sequentially, and you attributed that to the closure of some current account. So how much has been the growth in the savings account?
Savings account growth year on year, it is 13.68%. See, savings account, there is a robust growth. CASA, yes, it is a temporary operation. That's all.
Okay, and how has been the growth sequentially?
Sequentially, see, my SB balance was 19,233 crores, and now it is, that is sequentially, 19,233 to 19,668.25. Year on year, it is 17,300.84 to 19,668.25. Yes.
Okay. Sure. Got it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. We have the next question from the line of Krishna Srinivas, an investor. Please go ahead.
Good morning. I have just one question in terms of, you had mentioned that you have been empaneled by the government. So have we seen any kind of fund inflows into any deposits from any government agency till now?
Mr. Krishna Srinivas, it is not empanelment by the government. It is the agency arrangement. We have been designated as agency bank by the Reserve Bank of India. With that help, we can approach the government departments and we can get the government business. So that action has already initiated. So we have approached many state governments, many state government departments, and few of the central government department also. And things are moving, and in due course, we will be able to reap the benefit out of this agency arrangement.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, due to time constraints, that was the last question. I would like to hand the floor back to Mr. Shah for closing comments. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mahaleshwar sir, and the entire team for taking out your time and taking us through the journey of Q2 results and how things look forward. To the participants, thank you all for joining in. Mahaleshwar sir, you have any closing comments?
Yeah, thank you very much. And a lot of people have evinced interest, and it is our collective responsibility to come up to the expectation of each of you. We are really trying hard, and you can see very good all-round growth growing forward. During under this very trying condition of the Q2, because there was very severe impact of the COVID almost for the first 2 months, we have been able to provide this type of consistent and forward-looking sort of business numbers during this Q2. And I am confident that going forward, we will be able to build on these numbers. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, members of the management and Mr. Shah. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Monarch Networth Capital Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines. Thank you.